Hello and welcome back to the Refined Teenage Perspective. I'm Aryan Goshalia and I'm joined by Veer Sandhu and Joe Harali.
Hello.
Hello.
It is the second episode of season two, and just like last episode, we'll be sticking to the new structure. Without hesitation, I'm going to get right into explaining what the question of the day is, which is what do you wish grew on trees? What we mean by this question is what resource do you wish everyone in the world had equal access to? All right. So getting straight into it, I'll start by saying that I decided to go into a more simpler answer, which also could be a more obvious one. But anyway, I decided that everyone in the world should have access to food and water. So, and my reason for that was I found a stat on like United Nations website saying that each day 25,000 people, and that includes more than 10,000 children, die from hunger related issues. And by giving everyone equal access to food and water each day, it kind of helps solve all those malnourishment problems going around the world. But there's also going to be kind of a bit of a trade-off, and that is that like societal norms will kind of go a little bit higher. And what I mean by that is that people who are given the free food each day are kind of considered to would be considered to be a lot like, well, what is now considered poor, and the people who have the choice of what they want to eat every day would be considered to be a lot wealthier, which could cause even more problems, which we don't really want. The whole point of this is to try and find something that doesn't cause
Universal
any more
solution.
problems. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You want like a universal solution for it. So it's kind of a trade-off where you're sacrificing societal norms for solving the problem of malnourishment. And on one hand, we in my opinion, malnourishment is a lot more more of a major problem to solve than it being like a societal norm or not.
I
Like
see.
But
immediate.
then yeah, it's more of an immediate problem, but then we don't know what kind of like even higher problems that could cause.
Yeah, exactly.
And we like it's highly possible that
You don't
like
want to see it
crime,
cascade, yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's highly possible that crime could also go up from that, and we don't want like stuff like that to happen. But yeah, that's my answer, because I wanted to fix the immediate problem that is malnourishment.
Yeah, I feel like
You
your answer
yeah.
is pretty. It makes sense because it's like straightforward and it is the most logical thing to do when you think about it because again, like you said, if you like give everyone the same resources, there won't be a problem of survival. And if you just like look at like the past, like thousands of years ago when humanity was just starting out, the problem was simply just to survive. I want to make it to tomorrow. There wasn't anything about hobbies, making like getting a job or having a family. It was just to survive. But as time goes on, our problems and like the things we want to look at change. And if the thing Arian stated becomes true, like if we're given food and water as a resource to everyone in the world, we won't have to worry about survival at all. But again, it's not like the problems of the world will disappear. And that's the same thing for my perspective or my solution. What I said is a resource that everyone has access to. It's not exactly like a physical resource. It's kind of like a concept when it's basically giving everyone the opportunity to grow and make choices in life. Now, by this, I don't mean money because money is a resource and those who have money can, go to different schools, take courses, but I don't mean that because, again, if you give everyone on earth $1 million, that does nothing because if everyone has it, there's no value. It's pretty simple. But by giving everyone the same opportunities, it allows everyone to sort of pursue their passions without worrying about if it's sustainable in society. So never again will anyone have to, if someone is interested in visual and traditional arts, they won't have to become an accountant just for money. They can pursue what they want to do and they can make a living off that. Basically, I want to imagine a world where value is given based off someone's craft, passion, and the effort they put into it, rather than the effect it has on the higher levels of members of society. With this, art would definitely have more value. And the reason I'm putting an emphasis on this, even though like today we see art as something it's unnecessary, it doesn't affect like survival or anything that we need. But I think it's very important because as humans, our like emotions and like psychological like, state has greatly evolved over the past, or not the past, but the many years, and I think it's a really important thing. And with this as well, creativity would become much more crucial than it is today. And just to reiterate, basically, I want a resource such that it gives everyone the opportunity to grow and make their choices in life and essentially follow the things they want to follow without worrying about money and survival.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's a good solution. Well, it makes sense to essentially, instead of like, for example, what you would say is the reason why you came up with that solution is like, for example, if you just gave everyone on Earth $1 million, right? That's just, there would be no value to anything because
Yeah,
everyone has it all. But instead, you give value to the things that people want to do of themselves. But
yeah,
like at the same time, what would happen is like the world would kind of need to facilitate, like, because I can assure you that a lot of the things that are like, not everyone would want. We still need people working. And for example,
yeah.
you need people to I don't know, like haul around boxes in an Amazon uh uh
Yeah, I know what you're saying,
thing
but that's the thing.
and stuff
But
like
like
that.
what I'm saying is, if there was a world where
That
everyone
yeah,
literally just focuses on their hobbies and you get value or like you get paid, let's say, because that makes it
but
simple,
the
right?
thing
Like
is,
off your hobbies and your craft or your passion for
the
something.
thing is, the world would need to progress to a state, first of all, where we're able to. It would need to progress to a state
Yeah,
where
I
we
know what you
can
mean.
completely focus our brain power on things like this and not have, because like basically everything else in the world will be essentially covered by like robots or machines or something,
Yeah, and
in
I
that
know what you're
state.
saying. To like get to that development will take a
You
lot
would
of
still
time
need
and
our current
resources
world.
itself and a lot of you have to make a sacrifice to get to there, and whether that be like I don't know.
It would be like only like the future generations would, like, for example, people like in our world, we'd probably still have to go on this path for like another,
Yeah,
let's say, a
but
century
the thing
until
is,
we can live in a world
I
like that.
see like if the generations after us live like a better life and a higher quality than us, I'm fine with that because
Yeah,
if we're able to contribute to something like that, I think that's great. Like that's another big problem today.
that's
Like
good. Yeah,
that's exactly why global warming is such an issue because it's not gonna affect us in our like these generations. It's coming very close. Like it's
yeah.
not far off, but it's not an immediate issue. That's why humanity has no fear right now. Even but as it's not like it's going to end our world, but life here will
It
change
will.
dramatically.
There will be a point where you won't be able to go back, but you won't see the effects immediately. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
yeah, but do
I
you want to go over your like your take on it?
my
Like what
solution, I
resource would you
guess.
have? Do you have an idea or
I'd
something?
say, well, first of all, like my most, like, I guess, like just naive answer, and like the answer that instantly went to my mind
Hmm.
was happiness, right? Even though happiness technically isn't a resource, if we're thinking like conceptually, a thing that, or just a concept that I wish everyone could attain would be happiness. And basically, what happiness, having happiness, and also all the things that having happiness would imply, like, in order for everyone in the world to be happy, everyone in the world would have to be, eating well, sleeping
Yeah,
well, and stuff like that, and having a nice place to live and stuff like that,
exactly.
Uh, because I feel like, regardless, like a lot of people bring up this kind of counter argument to communism. I'm not a communist, I just like to say, but
Hmm.
like a lot of people bring this counter argument to communism, like, oh, like humans are inherently greedy and stuff like that. That's why communism would never work. They just want
Hmm.
they want for everything in the world to, like, you know not every human is fine with the things being the way they are for everyone else. Some people want more than others,
Yeah,
and like, I feel like that's not really the actual state of humans. Like, that's simply what people think they are, because of a lot of people who become like highly successful in the world don't become highly successful because they wanted money. They become highly successful because of something they wanted to pursue, and they just
yeah, I see
ended up
that.
becoming that way throughout their journey.
Yeah,
So,
that's because their goal is probably not value. It's probably like solving like a problem or
a
something. But
problem, exactly.
yeah,
And but I wouldn't say a communist kind of solution, but I'd say, because even then, like, if everyone had happiness, right? No one's happiness would kind of be no one's happiness would kind of stand out from another's, right? Because everyone would have the same amount of happiness relatively. So it wouldn't really solve any issues. But thing is,
No, but I think I actually think it would, because if you give everyone a better like mindset, and again, I think a mindset is
Yeah,
having a good mindset is very important. Not only will it make you like more productive, but it makes you more resilient, and you can like if you go into like let's say like you give two people a task and one has a positive mindset and the other one doesn't have a positive mindset, but they have like a bigger skill set. My guess would be that the one with a positive mindset compared to the one with a negative one would perform better. And if you give everyone like the resource of happiness, it's kind of like weird to say that, because you to get happiness, if you give it to people, it's kind of like unnatural. And we can kind of, I don't
yeah,
know if we want to talk about that, but like natural versus unnatural happiness. But I feel like if you give it just like a
No, but
like
I think that like when we were talking about this, we were saying like if drugs had no side effects, right? What would you still take them to be happy, basically, right? But we also argued the fact that like you said, like
the person
unnatural
taking the
versus
drugs
natural
wouldn't.
happiness. Yeah, they wouldn't feel the same about actual events that would make them happy, right? Like say, like
yeah.
you said, relationships and stuff like that. None of that would actually make them happy anymore because they'd just be relying on that one drug, kind of like an addiction,
Yeah,
basically,
even
right?
even if it like has no side effects, and that's why a lot of people get addicted to it, because if that one substance is the source for all of your motivation, again, the only source of happiness you have, everything else will you'll just become numb to everything, and that
Yeah,
will that
your
that that
tolerance
that's
for
the side
dopamine.
effect won't be like an actual thing in your body. It'll just the side effect will be in your whole life. That's the
Yeah,
kind of
so
scary part.
what might come as a result of simply everyone having happiness as their resource, right? Because I mean, unless saying everyone in the world will have happiness like encompasses the fact that like somehow for some reason that humans are simply okay with everyone else being happy and there's no kind of selfish need to be happier, as if that's another like kind of resource to have an advantage over in over other people, you know, like just like money, like whoever's happiest is the most successful or anything like that,
Hmm.
right? If everyone was okay with the fact everyone was happy because of the fact of how much happiness they have. In fact, if that was the case, right? If everyone in the world was happy because of the amount of happiness they have,
Yeah.
that's just our world.
Yeah, I guess because you can't
Our
really
world,
become
technically,
like
our
happy
world
based
is
off
the
like a
perfect world.
no, but
It
I think that there's a lot of problems with it. But
There's a
again,
lot of problems
if
in the
if if,
world,
if
but
I
we
feel like our world is the perfect world because we don't have another world to compare it with, right?
no,
no,
like even
you
theoretically.
can think of an artificial one like another reality, but we can't compare properly because we haven't seen the cascading side effects. So if we solve one problem, another one
Yeah.
could pop up, and we don't know what the other problem would be. And if we don't know what that is, we don't know how to solve it. That's why it's really hard to compare them. That's why the only
This
thing
is
you can
off
compare is
topic,
like
but
countries. But no, I
this
th
is
I still think it's
oh,
kind of related, because if you
I was gonna say like this is kind of off topic, but like it would be cool if we had some kind of AI or machine learning type thing that where we could predict like cascading problems or future
Yeah, we
problems
do have
after
that.
this instance.
Well,
Like
humans
what?
do that right now, but
No, the closest thing to that is like what actuaries do. They also predict risk, but they do it with
Yeah.
like financial stuff. But the thing is, the reason that's hard, because like I think I've said this before, but I've explored like machine learning and I do it as one of my hobbies and stuff. But the reason it's really hard to do that is because where are you gonna get the information from? Like if we could predict stuff that happens in the future, and we don't
Mhm.
have the ground truth, you can't train an algorithm to predict it because you don't know
You
what the
can't
why
model the
is.
entire universe without all the data of all the entire
But the thing
universe
is,
in
I
the
think
first
that
place.
that's why like if you have all the information, you could essentially output a resource from the algorithm that would be the most beneficial resource. And it could be something we don't even
Exactly.
know. It could be like a piece of wood, but based off
Remember,
the
I showed you guys that note, like computing the world.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
it's the entire problem was like what I mentioned in later was the problem was that in order to kind of I guess in order to calculate you'd start off with knowing the exact position and state of one particle in the universe, right? But in order to know the exact state of one position, state and position of one particle in the universe, you also need to know the exact state and position of every other particle in the universe, conversely. So then you have this infinite problem where if you want to know any particle, you need to know every other particle to begin with. And for every other one of those particles, you need the same thing. So, that's why you can't really. There's so much essentially information that you need to take in, and in order to get that information, you also have to know all the other information in the first place. So it's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
see what you
like,
mean. I get what you mean.
so now what you have is you can essentially you can build uh models that are like they fit to a, okay, I forgot the word, but basically you can kind of closely model it like within a certain range, like maybe in 98%, but you cannot get that final 2%. And even though that might offset it a lot, uh because obviously it's uncertain, right? There's still that amount of information can still be used in order to kind of determine that reality or
Yeah, no, no,
the
wait,
amount
wait.
of
I,
resources
I
you
think
want.
based off what you just said, I just realized, I don't know how we haven't mentioned this yet, but another like important resource is probably like knowledge or information.
Information, yeah.
Yeah. Or like data, information, whatever. Because if you have information, then you know what to act on. Like imagine if
Technically, though, isn't all information on the internet anyway?
no, 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 I don't mean like that because again, some people don't have access to the internet. But
Right.
what if like when you were born, you're given like this list or like a timeline. Right now, this is what your life is gonna look like. Change it as you see fit, but every event, or not every event, but every major event, just like a general timeline, so you can
Hmm.
see what will happen. If you had that timeline as a resource, do you think it would be like beneficial or would it be negative? Like if you
I
had
feel like it would be bad because there's always going to be that one person who tries to change that timeline, and then the butterfly effect we talked
Everyone
about in
will.
the luck
No,
episode.
no,
Yeah,
I don't mean like
there's
that.
going to
You're
be
not,
the
because you're not going back in time. You're given, because you're not going between two timelines. You're staying in your timeline.
Right, look, no,
You're
but
just
think
given
about it
the
like
information
this.
that this is gonna happen now. I mean, like let's say you're gonna go to this university and get this job, and let's say the thing is because it's very weird to say because if right when you're born, if you give someone that much information, you're giving that newborn the ability to read and understand a language, which doesn't make sense. But
I
if
think also, but like by giving all, like, I'm assuming like you're also going to be giving them experiences, right? Like you're basically they can try and find out what experiences they'll gain from that timeline. But then it's like we go back to the natural versus artificial type thing, and then it won't really give you the same kind of like
Yeah, because you're kind of just like
knowledge and
you're
stuff.
kind of just given like okay, this is what's you're kind of like given the answer to life, and you just have to change
Yeah.
it. You just modify it to what you want.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you're trying to change your trajectory, wouldn't the list itself change as well? Like, if the list is a representation of your future trajectory, then
I
as
no,
you
but I think the
change,
point is like
it's
on
like
the
set,
list
and
it's
then
just general events that are going to happen to you.
yeah,
Like
I know,
you
but
can change
as
the
you change them,
outcome, but like
yeah, as you change those general events, like let's say one of those events is you going to the University of Toronto, and then you're like, no, I do not want this. I want to go to the University of Waterloo.
so you
So
like
then
drop out or something.
so then you do these things in order to ensure that you get into the University of Waterloo, and then your list itself changes as a result. Or maybe your list was already kind of maybe your list was already a representation of the fact that you'll try and change your future, but you simply failed to do so, you know? I don't know. But I think we're starting to get away from the main point, which is, well, not really. We're just discussing the kind of fully exploring the kind of the results of, like, we're compiling and, you know, comparing the results of what our resource would have on the world. So maybe because I had this other kind of broad, like, kind of thought for it, like about what kind of resource would be most beneficial for the world, right? Um, because I don't think it would be something as like first of all, you think of information as very abstract, right? Like information is you can represent information in a plethora of ways, right? Everything in the world, everything in the universe is literally information, no matter how you look at it, it
Yeah,
is. Um, even matter itself is comprised of information, whatever. But
yeah, everything
um,
is, even our DNA. You can, everything is. That's
yeah,
basically.
exactly. Uh, but I don't think You see, I don't think it would be as simple as giving everyone in the world something like that. Like it would if the world could have come to a state like that, then people would have made the world to be like that in the first place.
No, but then if it's like that, the weird thing is that then what's the point of living if you already have all the answers?
There's
If
no real point of living. You simply do so if you want to enjoy it or not.
Yeah, that's the very weird part. Like, because if someone is born with all the information of like everything, like from all different both ends to the universe. They're given every single information about every single particle, every single thing, right? I don't know if you would even consider them human.
There's no problem
Mm,
in whether
I
considering someone a human or not. There's no problem within that. But
No, but
um
that's what I'm saying. It's like if you were that's if you give someone like a repertoire of information right when they're no, I guess they are given information because again, they're given it's very simple. It's like, oh, you cry when this happens. If you're hungry, you should
yeah, I
scream.
mean that's
If you
already like encoded in our DNA,
but
right?
that's what I'm saying, like simple like instincts, you know?
Yeah.
What if you're given like
Your instincts are more
they're
they're
more
just
like
better.
they're better, but they're kind of like related to time. And what I can elaborate on this, but like what if you have an instinct that's let's say this instinct knows what your life is going to turn out to be, right? And whenever you do something to alter that path in a negative way, it gives you like a signal or like a pain receptor that just triggers when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could literally live out your life like the ideal way. But then again, if everyone has that same resource, and it's gonna keep coming back to this because if you give everyone a positive thing,
Then there
that
will always be a competition or something like
yeah,
that.
like again,
It'll
even
always
even
result in
even
some
even if
kind
you
of like
take away
communist
the result
solution.
of the need of, or not the result, but the need of money and
Hmm.
the need to survive, and you just let everyone focus on their like passions or hobbies, like I stated in my like perspective blurb,
Yeah,
it would still be a competition. Who's the best at their hobby? And there would still
or
be
something
like,
like that.
yeah, there'd
There'd
still be
still be like
problems.
a something measure of success, and then there would still be people who would be unhappy in their lives, even though comparatively right now,
I wouldn't say unhappy,
someone,
maybe like unsatisfied, but that's kind of related. It's kind of the same thing.
yeah. But the thing is, if yeah, like now it comes to a point where even like that's why I feel like saying simply for them, everyone in the world to be happy. First of all, is it wouldn't exist in the universe. Like it literally, it just wouldn't work, right? It's like very I forget. It like kind of contradicts itself, like saying that you want everyone in the world to be happy. If you try to explore that idea, it contradicts themselves as we already discussed. But just in terms of, for the sake of this conversation, it is the best answer. There's no other answer that will kind of work for it, right? Unless you still like even still, if let's say you wanted to just eliminate those in the world who just have or have problems, right? Or like just are unhappy
Hmm.
and leave behind the people who only behind the people who are happy, then you've just got the entire problem again. So
Yeah,
there's no like way to do it without just simply saying that you want everyone in the world to be happy regardless of like the comparisons or anything, right? Like if you no one says that everyone's life has to be the same. All saying that everyone in the world should be happy means is that everyone's just happy, you know, and they don't even have to realize like that happiness is the metric of their life. Ha- all it could be is that happiness simply kind of just is as a result of whatever they do in their lives. Nothing in their lives kind of,
you know what I would change a little bit to your answer? Because the thing is, happiness comes from like it's kind of like satisfaction, you know, like you get it after you do something.
yeah.
But if you're born with it, you haven't done anything yet. I think you should change it to gratitude. You should be like grateful that you're alive, or like you should be thankful that you are given the opportunity to live a life.
Many people are grateful to live their lives.
Not everyone.
Everyone is. Not not everyone, but
No, but
I don't think
I
those
guess
people
I
are the
think
problem.
not enough people understand that it's like a gift to like no,
Yeah,
it's just like you. It's like a privilege to like, cause obviously no, but
be alive.
if you say it's a privilege, that means there's people that don't get to live their lives out. But if there's people that don't live, they're not people. That's
Yeah,
it's
they're just
nothing, I
dead.
guess. But I think that even if you give everyone that gratitude, there's always gonna be like different, not like there's gonna be different stages of society, I guess, or like levels. Like there's always gonna be
Mhm.
people at the top that
Like a
are
hierarchy. Yeah,
yeah, you can change the hierarchy to whatever you want. Like if it's just like in it's different in democratic countries, and it's different in countries that are run by dictators. They all have it. It's just framed in a different way. But the thing is, I don't think it'll ever change because even if
that's why I think that's why I think I still stick to the happiness thing because all that requires is saying that everyone is happy doesn't require anything else other than everyone else being happy. And so you could still have this world today, the one that we have, that's extremely that anyone if you had someone who lived in the happy universe we described, right? And they came and they looked at Earth, they'd be like, wow, this is really messed up, right?
Yeah.
But even still, in a way, because of we have, I mean, there's people that would argue that we don't have any free will, right? And there, in many ways, that argument makes sense. But just for the sake of this, um, we have free will, and we are. Many people suffer in life. Many people have great things in their life. But if everyone could be happy regardless, then there would be no competition. No one would
Yeah,
realize
no, and
there would still be
there
I
would be
think
no
competition.
drive to do anything.
about happiness too, it's not like a physical resource that you can just give people, right? Because if it's a physical
Kind of
resource, then everyone would like know that everyone had that resource. You know what I
exactly.
mean?
It's just kind of a
So with happiness, yeah, you're right. There's no
concept.
competition because no one would know that everyone is also equally happy.
You, no,
Like,
that's the weird part about happiness because a lot of people just look at happiness compared to other people. No one
Because
just looks at
happiness
themselves.
operates very it's simply a concept that's governed by the human itself that is happy or
Yeah.
is not happy. You know, it's not in relation to anything else other than that person. That's why anything else that any other kind of thing that is tangible or has anything in relation to others just simply does not work. The thing that works is a solution that is independent of all beings. If it's independent of all beings, then it works. And I think happiness is the perfect one, I'd say. Right?
I
I
it
mean,
does seem the most ideal. I can say that.
yeah,
It's the most
it's
ideal, but it also works the best. I mean, it's closest to our world, technically. It doesn't require anything else other than everyone being happy. You could build that happiness, that
it's like
happy universe
it's the
in
most
this world.
No,
it's the
no.
most
My
perfect in the
question
sense that
is
there are
like,
no extra problems.
how will this happiness like last forever? Like, is it just not gonna go away?
I mean, that is the
Yeah,
concept.
Yeah,
That is the
because the thing
concept.
is,
feel
like,
like, right?
let's say you give everyone level 10 happiness, right? And then after a year, if you put it on level 9, in my opinion, or what I see, I think it'll just be chaos. Because the difference that people have given, like, they've given that much comfort by not even doing anything, and when that comfort gets taken away, like, we don't know what to do because it's,
Okay,
But I
when
mean,
I
that's
say
hard to
happiness,
say
I don't really
though.
just I don't just mean like when I say happiness, I don't just mean like just fully being like like for example like when you're playing a game, right, and you're happy whenever I don't know, like you just do well, right? It's like that rush of dopamine. I don't mean that type of happiness. I mean like a genuinely happy life. It doesn't mean that nothing bad ever happens in your life. It just
yeah.
means that at the end of your life you're fulfilled.
I guess,
That is
I guess. So
In
okay,
that
yeah,
case,
I kind of
yeah,
get what you're saying because if you give everyone like the like dopamine release of happiness
yeah,
when
then
you
they would
accomplish.
get bored of it eventually
No, no,
anyways. It
no.
would just be like drugs.
What would happen is that no one would do anything because what do they have to do now? They're already living their ideal life according to their brain.
Exactly. So that's why I said happiness doesn't require for anything from any. You don't need to change this world for the happiness. All it requires is that people simply are happy at the end. Like
Yeah,
okay,
I
maybe
think
so you would
that's
measure
true.
happiness not at every moment. It's not like you would measure happiness at every moment in their lives that happiness is at an all-time max, but at the end of their lives, they'll be fulfilled in their life. That is what I'm saying. So
You
there
know what
can be
I think that's like kind of really strong because if like a lot of problems that we're dealing with today are from previous generations, right? And if
yeah.
after someone's lifespan, they're just completely fulfilled, they have nothing, they have no regrets, they've
yeah,
done
then
what they had to do.
everyone else in the next generation will probably also be happy because
Yeah,
of it.
because there's nothing that's like
Like
lingering on.
holding,
And
yeah.
I feel like if
Yeah.
there's like a problem in like for let's say generation zero, like the first generation of humans, and if it like stayed until now, I feel like the problem would get exponentially worse because if it's like something that's affecting
Yeah.
other people, our population is obviously increasing, and the more people you affect, the more people are victims to that problem. And then those victims, when they have children, their generation has the same stories, and it's just a
Mhm.
cascading effect of just like negativity and just
Yeah. Recursive.
yeah, it's not even the thing
Mhm.
is that it's gonna if you make it so that after someone's lifespan or like right before they're
Everyone's
about to finish,
fulfilled, yeah.
yeah, if they're fulfilled, then nothing would go wrong. I think that's a
Bad things
pretty
will
good
still
resource.
happen in the world. People will still die. There'll still be injustices. But even when those people die, even when those injustices happen, at the end of the day, those everyone will die happy. Even though there will be evil people and good people in the world, they will still be happy at the end of the day. And with that comes not a perfect world, but an operable and happy world. We're not looking for a utopia. We're looking for a world where everyone is happy, and that doesn't require this utopian look where
Yeah,
everything
flying
is
cars and
perfect.
stuff. Yeah,
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 where everything's perfect, no human is dying. There's no kind of things on the news. That's why I'm saying it's the closest to our world, where nothing deviates except for the mindset of the people in the world. There's bad things happen. A lot of people suffer from very bad things, but they're happy because of their mindset.
yeah. That's true. But I think there's a difference between like just giving someone something and letting them get it themselves. But
Exactly.
the good thing I see about the resource at the end of someone's lifespan is that they've already done everything they could have. This is just they're basically their last moment on this earth, right? And if you like, I don't know, just put a thought in their brain that okay, you did good, you did everything you could have, you lived the best way you could have. You couldn't have. If you put that thought in their mind, I don't think it will.
It would be good. Yeah. That's not what I'm thinking.
It's kind of, but
I'm not saying that.
then it's
I'm
really
saying
hard to do it.
everything that will happen in people's lives will lead them to have that thought.
Okay, I see. Yeah, but
I'm not just putting instilling it in their mind. I'm saying the world is humans simply operate in a way where, I mean, they kind of do, but like
So
I feel like maybe 20,000 years ago, without stimulation from like all of this technology and stuff like that, right? When someone died, generally, if they weren't murdered and they kind of just maybe they just died of an illness, perhaps they might have been somewhat happy in their lives. They might have not known it, right? They probably concept of happiness in their lives, but they were fulfilled and they were
yeah, I get what you're saying.
full and even then, I mean, society's progressed to a point where now we can afford to have we can be unhappy over not minor inconveniences, but inconveniences which would otherwise be like just not
Yeah,
exactly something a
like
big deal.
the other generations like before us, if they look at our society right now, they would just think it's like utopia. They would think it's just
Yeah,
amazing.
so
And
Generation Zero would think.
they're not like looking for like let's say something bad happens to them. They're not gonna like look for the happiness in that. They're still gonna feel like
They're still gonna feel
sadness.
pain, but at the end of the day, that is happiness doesn't encompass full maximum dopamine at all times in your life. Happiness is very different from that chemical in your brain. Happiness is a combination of being I
yeah,
mean, I can't
I
use a
feel
word
like
other than fulfilled, but just like conscientiousness, you know?
yeah, I feel like the chemical in your brain is simply just the system to it's just like a reward mechanism that we've just
Yeah,
evolved to have. It's not what like human or our happiness that we define now. It's way different than that because if our lives were just that one dimensional that you just get like you just become happy when you eat something that tastes good, then we wouldn't be where we're at today. But it's much different now, and that's why I think it's as time goes on, defining happiness is going to become more and more complex. It won't be that easy
true.
anymore because there's way more factors. Because right now, like I'm not saying that everyone has to worry about this, but like in the society that we're in, like first world countries, obviously we're privileged to live in a kind of society, this kind of society, but we don't have to worry about survival or anything like wrecking our homes. We don't have to worry about surviving tomorrow. We are worrying about our own problems, but they're not as like detrimental as
Yeah,
what previous generations had to deal with. And I think we should that's probably a good way to look at things
grateful.
because it's not like we it's kind of like it's good to look at someone else's like perspective, and that's something we mentioned in this podcast a lot because you're gonna learn you yourself can learn a lot from taking another person's shoes and putting yourself in them because there's no other way you can really everything that you see and you experience in your life is through your eyes, and you can't really
Get a
if you
sense
yeah if you
of it.
live like that one dimensionally, there's really no, I don't think there's any way you can be happy yourself because if you do that, you don't build any relationships, and that's
Mhm.
one thing of humans that we kind of need, like social interaction. And you don't really solve problems for others, and that's also another thing which I personally believe that it's a big source of happiness. And it's like
Yeah, so maybe I'm just thinking right now, maybe it wouldn't like happiness. I'd still keep the answer to happiness, but maybe we should add a detail, which is that happiness encompasses at most, like the biggest point of happiness encompasses the fact that every human would have an open mindset, I think, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I feel
Every
like
human's like
yeah,
thought process has changed in a way.
yeah, giving humans a different mindset would definitely be beneficial because the thing is, you would never know that that mindset is not. I guess you could consider it natural if it just happens, but
Yeah.
if it, you can't really, because you can technically change your mindset whenever you want.
Yeah, yeah, I know, but like not everyone. I mean,
It's
that's
difficult, but
how.
it's possible. You can change it
Yeah,
instantly. You
but
can
not
become
everyone has
negative or
those
positive
experiences
instantly.
that causes them to turn out that way.
Yeah,
Um,
and a lot of like the result or the things that caused bad mindsets are usually bad experiences and usually
yeah,
not usually but sometimes they're experiences that you can't that people don't have control of, and that's kind of like the tough part because if there's something that you don't have any power over and it happens, a lot of people kind of take that as, oh, what am I supposed to do now? Nothing's gonna work out. But I think a good way to look at that, if something like that happens, I don't know about you guys, but if something happens to you like that you don't have any control of, and you're kind of mad because something that event that occurred had a negative impact on you, but there's nothing you could have done on it, would you worry about it, or would you just like move on and just forget about it, like any that event whatsoever? Because if something that happens to you is kind of out of your control, like let's say that you're gonna flip a coin, right? And one side of the coin is a good life and the other one is a bad life. Let's say you do that, right? If you get the bad life, I personally, obviously you'd be like distressed because, oh, that's really unlucky because you basically couldn't do anything about it. But if that were to happen, I personally would just look at it as, oh, I couldn't do anything about it. If you can't do anything about it, there's no reason to like waste your resources or your energy stressing
sure,
about
yeah,
it.
energies, yeah, exactly.
But it's really hard not to because
That's how
it's
humans are.
yeah, it's really hard not to do that, and a lot of problems, especially for like students, and that's another reason why, mental health is a big issue because a lot of problems that happen usually could not have been you could have done something about them, but it's not like I would have fully solved it. And after things are done, if you completely forget about them, yes, you would technically be happier, but if you like take them into consideration and keep them in the back of your mind as a bad experience, it kind of gives you a drive to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But that those bad thoughts still stay with you, and
Is what do you wish could
that's kind of like it's kind of like a I think this is a good note to kind of finish our kind of discussion today because we talked a lot about the resource of happiness and we went fairly in depth. But yeah, I think that's it for today. And if Arian, you want to go ahead and conclude this
Yeah.
episode?
So thank you everyone for watching. Be sure to subscribe and like, I guess.
Hmm.
And like usual, for all our social media will be in the description of this video. And oh, we have to also fully answer the question. So, but I think that everyone has come to the same
Yeah,
conclusion that I guess happiness at the end of your life would probably be the best
ideal.
resource that
Yeah.
you could give someone, right? And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.